Yo me imaginé otra cosa. Yo cuando decidí salir de Honduras, yo me imaginé que era algo, venir viajando normal. Nunca, nunca. Ese camino es feo.
Children have arrived in the United States without their parents for decades, but over the past 2 years, the number of unaccompanied minors, primarily from Central America, has become so large it has been characterized as a humanitarian crisis. The number has reached unprecedented levels, more than 50,000 within the past 8 months, and rising. The surge is so overwhelming, President Obama has asked Congress to provide almost $4 billion to set up new detention facilities, conduct more aerial surveillance, and hire immigration judges and Border Patrol agents to respond to what he calls an urgent humanitarian situation.
We now have an actual humanitarian crisis on the border that only underscores the need to drop the politics and fix our immigration system once and for all. In recent weeks, we've seen a surge of unaccompanied children arrive at the border, brought here and to other countries by smugglers and traffickers.
It is a crisis, by the way. Our first and foremost concern has to be the fact of these hundreds of kids, thousands of kids, who in many cases are unaccompanied. They're minors, some of them exceedingly young. Imagine you're subjected to human trafficking, to child prostitution and pornography. It's this horrible situation. So first and foremost has to be the kids. And then how do we deal with it as a nation?
The majority of these children, from toddlers to teens, are largely coming from 3 nations: El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, a tiny nation with the highest murder rate in the world. Both Democrat and Republican lawmakers agree that the tide of children coming in serves as a testament to problems with U.S. immigration laws and growing criminal enterprises profiting from the desperation of those seeking a better life. But how to resolve the issue remains at a stalemate, fueling rumors that those who make it to U.S. soil will be able to stay. Denia Zelaya is among the many who paid smugglers to bring their children to the United States.
Bueno, yo escuché de que si entraban los niños menores de edad, que tenían una posibilidad de quedarse acá. Y pues en Honduras, en Centroamérica, ese rumor se ha hecho expandecer grande.
The crisis is being felt across the United States, with Miami becoming one of 10 cities where children are being sent for immigration proceedings as border shelters in the Southwest fill up.
We have children coming here every day. Basically, some kids come in groups, some other kids come individually for legal education and consultations. We see a minimum of 40 kids, out of the very minimum 40 kids per week in our office. And then there are children that we see at the shelters while they're in federal custody, and we actually go there and visit them there, and that's an added number of children that we see.
These children are fleeing their homelands for many reasons, but an overwhelming number blame gangs that have spread across Central America, wreaking havoc and spilling blood across the region.
They're not gangs. I mean, it's our easy way to refer them, but these are multinational criminal syndicates that are engaged in drug trafficking, human trafficking, all manner of activity. And so the idea that these countries can barely conduct an election, barely feed its own citizens, are somehow going to be able to take on this challenge is something that requires attention from the United States, because we're going to pay the price.
The journey is dangerous. It's very, very dangerous, especially for girls. A big percentage of the children encounter violence along the way, from Central America through Mexico. The degree of violence varies depending on what they encounter along the way. A lot of the girls report being raped. Some children have been held in captivity by drug cartels, and some children have witnessed murders. They have seen people die in the desert. They have seen people being abused. You know, they are walking and hoping and praying that this is not going to happen to them, and oftentimes it happens to them somewhere along the lines.
Llegamos a la cabaña, mi grupo desaparece completamente. Yo asustada, muy horrible. Me agarran varios tipos. Me agarran varios hombres. Yo temblando, yo no hallaba qué hacer, yo estaba desesperada. Me agarran varios hombres y ahí fue donde sucedió todo eso, donde fue mi tragedia. Y recuerdo que ellos me decían, cállate. Ellos me tapaban la boca y me decían, cállate, si no te callas, te vamos a matar aquí y hasta aquí vas a quedar. Y yo temblorosa, yo no hallaba qué hacer. Lo único que se me venía en la mente, era que iba a morir, en esa tragedia, que iba a morir, que hasta ahí había llegado mi vida, hasta ahí había pasado tanto para nada y iba a morir. Y entonces yo tuve que soportar todo esto. No solo fue un hombre, fueron varios hombres. Espantoso, muy espantoso esto.
The mass exodus from Central America has overwhelmed resources in U.S. border cities and touched off protests, from those angry about the influx and activists who say the children should be taken care of, regardless of their immigration status.
I think South Florida is, in an ideal position to respond to part of this emergency. Our county is full of immigrants, many of them very successful people who know the struggle, and people who know that hard work and, just staying in the right path can pay off. And I think that as a society in South Florida, that's the way we should respond, and, to understand that these children are coming from places where we were before. Shelter, where we go to at least twice a week, is a place where children were processed through Pedro Pan many years ago. And those were children, and the circumstances were different, but these are children too. As a country, we need to understand that makes them unique. They're not the immigration problem that people think as the regular immigration problem, like how many people are here and why do they come. First and foremost, they're children. They lack immigration status, but they're children. And are we going to look at them and just say, oh, that's fine, but just go away, and we're not going to worry about where you come from or how things are going to be when you go back, or whether, there's promise in you. And I think South Florida is uniquely positioned to respond to that and be better than that.
Yo digo que nosotros también los merecemos estar aquí, que los ayuden. Algunos hijos, algunas personas se vienen porque quieren ver a su padre, a su madre, y otras personas no los venimos por eso. Como en mi caso, yo no vine buscando a mi madre ni a mi padre. Yo vine buscando, una luz, y realmente la estoy encontrando, y la encontré.